Hello and welcome to the next episode of Build the Back to the Future DeLorean. It is 10 o'clock on July 9th. And if it isn't 10 o'clock on July 9th, where have you been? You knew from last time that this video will be uploaded exactly at this date and at this time. So where have you been? I am very disappointed in you. No, not really. You can watch this video whatever time you like. That's the joy of YouTube. How amazing was the Spider-Man film? I have no idea because I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Spider-Man. I'm sure it's fantastic. I am probably still recovering now from seeing Blink-182 in concert. Past me. So yeah, this time travel thing's getting confusing. I don't really know what I'm saying. But look, it is the same day because this hasn't moved. I'm filming it straight after. This is how we left the engine last time. I also managed to make sure I got all of my frame ready and secure. Everything is screwed in place. There are now no more wobbles, and I managed to glue in this magnet here, which had popped out, which means that the wheel didn't actually sit in place, but it does now. The frame is ready for putting this engine part onto it. So let's start that now by looking at what comes in issues 26 and 27 of Build the Back to the Future DeLorean. Okay, so this video is a little bit all over the place anyway, future and past, because of how I'm filming it. So I'm actually going to start with issue 27, because in issue 26 we have the engine being attached to the chassis, and I really want that to be the finale of this video, really, just to give this video a little bit of a progression. So to start this video off, I'm actually going to do the last step in the magazine of issue 27, and that requires these two fans being put onto this little radiator part here. So let's just have a little look at what comes in issue 27 before I do that. We have the car horn here, which is looking very nice. It is plastic, not metal. But yep, looking very good indeed. And then we have two connectors which will connect to the frame in just a moment. And then of course we get these two fans which are identical, which will be attached onto this part here with some HP screws. So cue the music. And there we go, we have the fans all in there. This one is a little tighter than this one. This one spins quite freely, and this one doesn't so much, so I might loosen that. But that is the final step of issue 27, and this little fan part here will go towards the radiator in the next video. So make sure you keep it safe until then. So let's bring in the frame of the car here, the chassis, and we're going to be starting at the front of the chassis, and we'll be moving to the back with the engine a little later on. So the first piece we're going to be looking at is the car horn. Like I said just earlier, it's looking very nice, made of plastic, and what you'll need to do is you need to get this part here. It's all very black, there we go, which has got like a little kink in it and two holes, and it's also got a peg which matches with the peg hole on the horn, the smaller hole there. So you just pop the peg into that smaller hole, and then we screw in a screw into this bigger hole. You use a GP screw for this. Oops, it's just come loose. Let's get that peg back in. It's harder to do now with the screw. Come on. Oh, drat. Where's that gone? I found it, and I actually screwed it into the horn there. So that is what it looks like when it's all done. And then if we just move around here, you'll see that there is a hole just there and another hole there. This hole is for this peg. There we go. You can see it just there. That just pops on there like that. And then these two holes lined up for a screw. This time using a NM screw because we are screwing into metal. So let's just screw that in there. Nice and tight like that. Could go with being a little bit tighter. There we go. And there's the horn all installed at the front end of the DeLorean. Next we have this part here, and we also have this part here, which are the same parts just for different sides of the frame. and they use the peg and screw hole mechanic as well. So the first one goes in there like that, which you can't really see, and then this one goes in there like that. So the peg into the furthest hole and the screw hole is the nearest one, and we just screw them in with NM screws as well. And when they're all attached, they will look like that, ready to house something. I'm guessing they're ready to house this somehow, but we'll look at that next time. Now let's move on to the back of the DeLorean and finally installing the engine. So here are all the parts that come in issue 26, and before we attach the engine to the chassis, we still got to finish off the engine, of course, and the final step is putting a silencer on the engine. So I'm just going to move away all these screws for now, which we'll be using throughout the course of this part. The first thing we do is we get this big part here. Let's zoom in, and you'll see that either side it's got a little hole there and a little hole there, not a full circle but a half semicircle, which matches this piece here. You see it's got a little cutout there. So the first thing we do is attach these two parts, one on this side and another one on this side. And you are meant to fix them with the good old AP screws, but I found it actually pretty difficult. So what I had to do was glue them in place first and then put the AP screws in. The angle of the screwdriver made it quite difficult, and even though there is kind of a part of the circle cut out, they still didn't hold as securely as you'd like for this part. But they are in now. There's two exhaust pipes into the silencer and looking very nice indeed. Let's just move all these other parts aside and get the cover of the silencer on here. So that just goes in there like that. Very nice indeed. And then it's screwed in there. There we go. So they're nice and sunken, and there we have the silencer of the engine all complete. I love these two little exhausts sticking out there. Actually, it's not complete. I lied. We still have to attach these parts as well, but that does come a little later. Even if I can learn how to speak, because we're just going to attach the silencer now. So this will attach in three different ways. First of all, this pipe will go into this hole here and then swing it around. Well, actually see we've got a little screw hole there which matches with that screw hole there as well, and the back part here is a screw hole for this little part there. So we've got to make sure all these places line up. So let's first put it into that pipe there, make sure it's lining up there, and then pushing it down enough so that it reaches that hole, which is a little tough to do because that hole keeps piping up. There we go. There we go. Oh, not quite. There. I think that's right. So now it all gets screwed together. And when it's all finished, it will look like this. So it was an AP screw to screw it in there, and then there's no screw for this pipe, but it's still a little loose. If you want to, you could put a bit of glue on the edge to make sure that's secure, but I'm not going to. I don't think that's going to pop out when it's actually on the chassis. And then it's an AM screw to attach it here. Now, the next thing you do is you get this part here, which just has two little pegs on it, and these two pegs just push into these peg holes there, like that. It doesn't say in the instructions about glue, and they're too small to screw, and actually, yeah, I don't think I will glue that because that is in there fairly tight. Nice little addition there, add a bit more character to the silencer. Now, these two parts we'll use a little later, as with all these other parts that we get in issue 26, and not forgetting the parts that we got in issue 12 and 13, which I told you to bring to the party. Did you bring them? I hope so, because you will need them. If you don't have them, go away, go get them, then come back, and then we'll attach the engine to the chassis. Okay guys, this is the moment we've been waiting for about 10 issues now, and that's putting this engine in, and it just fits in like this. Okay, so the front part tucks under this main part of the chassis here, and then what we have to do is flip it around so that we can screw it in place. So let's zoom back in here. Now you will see that the front part here, there are 2 screw holes that match up with these 2 silver screw holes as well. It is a little tough to see, but they are there. And then of course there is one big main peg there which will fit into the hole here, which is the first one I'm going to put in. But before I show you what the engine looks like in the chassis, let's finish off what comes in issue 26 first, starting with these 2 pieces here. Now these 2 pieces came with issues 12 and 14, and you attach them together like this with a BM screw holding it all in place. We then get another one of these rubber parts in this issue, one for that one, and another one for this one here. And I'm just going to show you what to do with these 2 metal poles on the one wheel, even though it does cater for both. So what you do is you get this part here, which is the thicker side, and you see there's like a little circular bit just in the wheel there. It's hard to see at this angle, but you just push that part in there like that, and then you rest this part onto the sticky out part there like that, and you screw that in with an AP screw just like this. It goes in there like that, nice and secure. This part is left just to bounce across the pole, and then this part is kind of wedged into the wheel there, looking very nice indeed. You do the exact same for the other side, which I can't really see at this angle either, so I'm just going to put this one onto the other side and then I'll be right back with you. And we are going a bit old school now with the handy cam, but I feel like it's the only way I can show you what I have just done. So you can see that this part there fits very nicely into that circle part there, attached to this rubber tubing part. And then we have the pipe coming down here. This rubber tubing part just kind of moves like that. And then we have a screw just in there attached to this little earpiece of the engine here. And move down. Same again, that part screwed in there. This little rubber part is left to move around, and then just swing this around and you'll see it is tucked into the wheel there like that. And that is what it all looks like connected with the engine. Just 2 more parts to do now on issue 26, and then I'll show you the final result. I tell you something, we are getting into some weird and wonderful angles on this video. Blimey. As you see me screwing these 2 final parts here, I don't fully understand why we had to wait till the engine was attached to the chassis before we screwed in these parts, because they just attach onto the silencer, as you can see. This could be done while the silencer and the whole of the engine was outside of the chassis, and because it says to do it now, it makes it a lot more difficult. But hey, you know, rise to a challenge. If you look at this back angle as well, you'll see that there isn't really any reason why we couldn't do this earlier. These parts don't affect with the chassis and the placing of the engine when we put it in, so I'm a bit confused. But those are the final 2 parts in issue 26, and this is what the engine looks like when it is attached to the chassis. Looking very, very nice, and I have to tell you, it does increase the weight of the Delorean by quite a bit. I've said it before and I'll say it again, this thing is going to be damn heavy. But, you know, the engine looks fantastic. It looks really, really good at the back of the Delorean. I'm very excited to getting the boot done now so that we can open it and look inside this engine. It has been a lot of work, a lot of effort has gone into this engine. And that's what I love, I absolutely love about these part work builds, is that every single part is made by me. So when I do open that boot, when it's all completed, and look at the engine, I'll be like, I made that. All of those individual pipes, that dipstick, all of those screws, I put that together. This is not man-made in a factory or anything like that. This is man-made by me, by my own 2 hands. Albeit a bit sloppy at times and a bit rushed, but made by me. And that is the joy of doing these part works. I think you'll all agree. That is what I get most out of them. So thank you very much for joining me for the whole of the engine saga of this building of the DeLorean. Next time we'll be looking more at the front. That's all I know for certain. And then who knows where this build will take us. Maybe more underside, maybe more backside, who knows? I just don't know. That is the other great thing about building these part works, is that you don't know what's going to come from week to week. And it is exciting. It is very exciting. So thank you once again for joining me this time. I hope to see you again next time. Until then, guys, take care. Bye bye.